The restaurant Chasen's in Beverly Hills was packed with Hollywood's elite when a man walked through the door, someone accustomed to getting everything he wanted. Vincent Moretti was a known associate of organized crime, a man whose name made restaurant owners nervous and whose presence cleared tables faster than a health inspector. When he saw Clint Eastwood sitting at the best table in the place, the corner booth that offered privacy and prestige, he sent one of his men with a message: "Move, or there would be trouble." What happened in the next few minutes would become one of the most talked about episodes in Hollywood history. Clint Eastwood did not argue. He did not confront him. Instead, he did something so unexpected, so devastating, that it left every person in that restaurant in absolute silence. But before continuing, I would like to know where you are listening from. And if you don't want to miss these kinds of stories, give a like and subscribe. Your support is vital to keep creating content. Chasen's was more than a restaurant. It was an institution. It was the place where deals were closed, where careers were launched, and where Hollywood's power structure was displayed every night. The corner booth, table 5, was the most coveted seat in the establishment. It offered privacy, visibility, and the subtle message that whoever occupied it truly mattered. Clint Eastwood had been sitting at table 5 for 30 minutes. He was waiting for a director to discuss an upcoming Western. The conversation was crucial, the kind that shapes careers and determines which projects move forward. He had arrived early, ordered a whiskey, and settled into the comfortable leather with the ease of a man who belonged in places like that. The restaurant was almost full. Producers, actors, executives, the entire machinery of the entertainment industry eating, drinking, and making connections. The waiters moved between the tables with rehearsed efficiency. Conversations hummed at a carefully calculated volume that allowed privacy while suggesting importance. At 8:47 in the evening, the energy in the room changed. Vincent Moretti entered through the main door. He was accompanied by 3 associates whose specific functions needed no explanation. Everyone who mattered in Hollywood knew who Moretti was. He had connections with interests that operated outside traditional business structures. He possessed influence that extended to unions, distribution, and areas of the industry that preferred to remain unexplored. Moretti was not a man who waited for a table. He was not a man who accepted no with elegance. He was not a man who tolerated anything less than exactly what he wanted, exactly when he wanted it. The maitre d' approached, already nervous. "Mr. Moretti, we were not expecting you tonight." "I don't make reservations." Moretti's voice was flat and cold. "I need a table." "Of course, we can have something ready in perhaps 15 minutes. "I don't wait 15 minutes. The maitre d' swallowed. "Sir, the restaurant is quite full tonight. If you could give us a moment to." Moretti's eyes scanned the room. They settled on table 5, on the man sitting alone in the corner booth with a whiskey in his hand, occupying the best seat in the place. "That one over there." One of Moretti's associates separated from the group. He was large, well-dressed, with the kind of physical presence that suggested he was used to convincing people to cooperate. He moved through the restaurant with the casual confidence of someone who had delivered uncomfortable messages before. He stopped in front of table 5. Clint Eastwood looked up from his drink. "Can I help you?" "Mr. Moretti needs this table. He would appreciate it if you moved to another place in the restaurant." The words were polite on the surface, but the underlying meaning was not. Eastwood studied the man for a moment. "Mr. Moretti?" "That's right." "And who exactly is Mr. Moretti?" The associate's expression tightened with surprise. "You don't know who Mr. Moretti is?" "I know perfectly well who he is. I'm asking why that should matter to me." "It should matter because Mr. Moretti is not used to hearing no, and because making Mr. Moretti unhappy usually creates complications." The conversation had drawn attention. Nearby tables had fallen silent. People watched while pretending not to. That subtle awareness that something unusual was happening spread through the restaurant like ripples in water. Clint Eastwood took a sip of his whiskey. "Tell Mr. Moretti that I'm waiting for someone for a business meeting. When my meeting is over, I will gladly consider his request." "That's not going to work." "Then we have a problem." "Mr. Moretti doesn't have problems. He creates them for others." Eastwood set his glass down. "I've been in this business for 30 years. I've run into many men who thought they could create problems for me. Most of them are no longer in the business. This is different. It always is. The associate straightened up. I'll tell Mr. Moretti you have refused his request. Do that. The associate returned to Moretti, spoke quietly, gestured toward table 5. Moretti's expression did not change. He nodded once, said something to his remaining companions, and did something that left the restaurant in complete silence. He walked toward table 5 himself. That was not how things usually worked. Men like Moretti sent messages, used intermediaries. They did not handle situations personally unless those situations required the kind of resolution intermediaries could not provide. The fact that Moretti approached Clint Eastwood directly meant that this had escalated beyond normal channels. Every eye in Chasen's watched. Conversations had stopped. The waiters stood still. The maitre d' looked as if he might faint. Moretti arrived at table 5 and stood in front of Clint Eastwood, the two men separated by the width of the booth table. You're in my seat. Eastwood looked up at Moretti. Neither man spoke immediately. The silence stretched 5 seconds, 10 seconds, creating a tension that made the watching crowd hold its breath. This is your seat, Eastwood finally said. When I'm in this restaurant, every seat is my seat. I choose where I sit. Tonight I choose this one. And if I refuse to move, then you'll discover why people don't refuse my requests. Do you know what I've noticed about men like you? Men like me. Men who think they can walk into any place and take whatever they want because everyone else is afraid of them. I don't care what you've noticed. You should, because what I've noticed is that men like you only have power over those who give it to them. People who agree to be afraid. People who decide that cooperating is easier than standing up. Are you saying you're not afraid? I'm saying fear is a choice, and tonight I'm choosing differently. Moretti leaned slightly forward. You have no idea who you're dealing with. I can make one call, and your next movie doesn't get made. I can make 2 calls, and you're banned from every restaurant in this city. I can make 3 calls, and things will happen that can't be undone. You can make all the calls you want. I'll still be sitting at this table when you finish dialing. This is your last chance. No, this is your last chance. The response surprised Moretti. My last chance for what? To leave with your dignity intact. To walk out of this restaurant knowing you didn't get what you wanted, but at least you didn't make a fool of yourself trying. You think I'm making a fool of myself. I think everyone in this room is watching you fail to intimidate a man who isn't interested in being intimidated, and I think the longer this goes on, the more your reputation suffers. Moretti was trapped in a situation he had created himself. He had approached Clint Eastwood in public, in front of dozens of witnesses. If he backed down now, he would look weak. His entire business model depended on the premise that people complied with his demands to avoid consequences. But Clint Eastwood was not complying, and the consequences that Moretti usually threatened, violence, professional sabotage, social exclusion, did not seem to worry him. You're making a serious mistake, said Moretti. Maybe, but it's my mistake, my choice. I won't forget this. I don't expect you to forget it. I just don't care. The words hung in the air. Moretti was running out of options. He could not physically attack Clint Eastwood in front of all those people. He could not escalate further without looking desperate, and he could not leave without losing prestige. He was trapped, and everyone watching knew it. What happened next was so unexpected that it took several seconds for people to understand what they were witnessing. Clint Eastwood stood up. He emerged slowly from the booth, unfolding his considerable height, looking at Moretti from a position of physical dominance. The room held its breath. Then Clint Eastwood did something no one anticipated. He stepped aside. He gestured toward the booth, toward table 5, the seat Moretti had demanded, and said, "Please, sit down." Moretti stared at him. "What, the table? You wanted it. It's yours. You're giving up the table?" "I'm giving you exactly what you asked for." The confusion on Moretti's face was profound. He had come prepared for resistance, for confrontation, for the satisfaction of breaking someone's defiance. He had not come prepared for surrender, especially a surrender that didn't feel like surrender at all. Just like that. Just like that. Please, sit down. Moretti looked at the booth, looked at Clint Eastwood, and looked around the silent restaurant filled with watching faces. Something was wrong. This did not feel like a victory. It felt like a trap, but he could not identify what it was. Slowly and uncertainly, Moretti slid into the booth. Clint Eastwood picked up his whiskey, drank it in one swallow, set the glass on the table in front of Moretti, and nodded once, a gesture that might have been respect or might have been disdain. Then he walked toward the door. He did not hurry. He did not look back. He moved through the restaurant with the same calm confidence he had shown all night. At the door he stopped. He turned toward the room, toward the dozens of faces watching him, toward Moretti sitting alone at table 5, toward the entire structure of Hollywood power gathered there. "Enjoy your table," he said. "I hope it was worth it." And then he left. The door closed behind Clint Eastwood. The restaurant remained silent. Moretti sat in the booth, the table he had demanded, the seat he had insisted on, and slowly, terribly, he began to understand what had just happened. He had gotten the table, and he had lost everything else. He had demanded, threatened, intimidated, and Eastwood had simply left, not defeated, just uninterested. Every person in that restaurant had seen one of the most powerful men in Hollywood's underworld try to intimidate Clint Eastwood, and they had seen Eastwood refuse to participate. He had not defended himself. Defending himself would have given Moretti importance. It would have treated the threat as legitimate. Instead, Eastwood had dismissed him completely. He had given him the table the way someone gives a toy to a child to stop a tantrum, and he had walked away without anger, without fear, without any recognition that Moretti mattered at all. In 30 seconds, Clint Eastwood had done more damage to Moretti's reputation than any confrontation ever could have. The story spread through Hollywood within hours. By the next morning, everyone knew what had happened at Chasen's. The details were repeated in studios, cafes, and industry meetings across the city. Moretti demanded Eastwood's table, and Eastwood simply gave it to him. He gave it to him and walked away. He said, "I hope it was worth it." As if Moretti were nothing. As if the entire matter were beneath him. What did Moretti do? People asked. He got what he asked for. But somehow getting what he asked for made him look weak. It made him look desperate. Moretti had built his power on fear, on the premise that people would rather comply than face consequences. But Clint Eastwood had shown that compliance did not have to look like submission, that you could give someone what they wanted while making them look small for wanting it. Within a month, Moretti's influence began to fade. Not dramatically. Men like him did not disappear overnight, but the edge was gone. The fear had weakened. People who once cowered now answered his demands with the same indifferent shrug Eastwood had shown. "Sure, take the table. Is that what you need to feel important? Go ahead." The weapon of intimidation had been blunted, and everyone knew exactly where and when it had happened. Years later, people would ask Clint Eastwood about that night. "Why did you give him the table? You could have stood your ground." Standing my ground would have given him what he wanted. "What do you mean?" "He wanted the table. He wanted me to resist so he could force my submission. He wanted to feel powerful. The table was just an excuse. So by giving him the table, I gave him nothing. I showed everyone watching that he wasn't worth fighting over, that his threats didn't matter, that he had to demand a table from a movie actor to feel important. That's more insulting than fighting. That's the key. When someone tries to provoke you, the worst thing you can do is let yourself be provoked. The best thing you can do is treat them as if they don't matter, because nothing hurts more than irrelevance." Clint Eastwood was ordered to give up his table. What he did next left the room silent. But the silence was not the result of violence or confrontation. It was the result of something far more subtle, the total refusal to participate in someone else's drama. Moretti had come looking for a power game. He expected resistance, which would justify force. He expected submission, which would confirm his dominance. He got neither. He got indifference. He got exactly what he asked for, delivered in a way that made asking for it look pathetic. The lesson spread through Hollywood. Real power was not about winning confrontations. Real power was about choosing which confrontations deserved your energy, and treating unworthy provocations with the contempt they deserved. Clint Eastwood had spent his life playing tough men who solved problems with fists and guns. But in that restaurant, he demonstrated something far more sophisticated. The toughest response to a bully is not to hit back. It is to walk away in a way that makes them look small. Table 5 at Chasen's became legendary after that night. For years, people pointed at it and told the story. The booth where Vincent Moretti tried to intimidate Clint Eastwood. The seat that Moretti won and lost at the same time. The story illustrated a principle that extended far beyond Hollywood. Some battles are not worth winning. Some confrontations are designed to make you smaller, no matter the outcome. The only victory in those situations is refusing to play. Clint Eastwood understood that instinctively. He did not give up his table because he was afraid. He gave it up because keeping it would have required treating Moretti as a worthy opponent. And that was exactly what Moretti wanted. By leaving, Clint Eastwood denied him the satisfaction of matching. He reduced a powerful man to someone begging for a table in a restaurant. He turned a threat into a joke. The room fell silent because everyone present understood what they had witnessed. Not a surrender, but a masterclass in defeating someone without confronting them at all. Clint Eastwood was ordered to give up his table. He gave it up voluntarily, freely, without hesitation, and in doing so, he won completely.